Hi, welcome to another Dominion coaching video. Here we're going to look at a game that Jake played while he seemed to be a little bit drowsy. And he's here.
Yeah, and this one is a little bit different than in the past because I'm actually right here being coached by Adam Horton from the Adam Horton podcast.
Yeah, it's a pretty good podcast.
Yeah, so this is a game that I played and uploaded a video about, and I gave my commentary on it. Maybe you've already even watched it, but I asked Adam to take a look and let me know, kind of critique my play, and we thought it would be a pretty good video. I'm going to mostly stay quiet here and only chime in when it's relevant. This is kind of be sort of a coaching session for Adam's going to go over my mistakes for all of you.
It's going to be so good.
So you can learn from them.
Yeah.
Even though merchants guilds are something I really want to get
So,
started with,
you think about what you do with your 5 opening. I think 5-2 is great here because you want to get this raise. You're thinking about basically Merchant Guild and Mine, which I think are the two main considerations. And you end on Mine, which is it's a non-standard choice, but I actually agree with the Mine. I think Mine is a great opening here. Mine is it's really good when you can open with it. It's actually really good. It's a really powerful opening, and it's going to do a lot more for you over the course of this game than a Merchant Guild will. I mean, yeah, the rest of your 5s are going to be cities and Merchant Guilds, but, like, the Mine, super great. So, like, A plus Mine, and I don't know that a lot of people would have found that, because a lot of people just look at Mine and they say, this card sucks, I'm never getting it ever. And, like, it's really great here. So, like, props on that. So we're going to fast forward a little bit to this point. So you got a Merchant Guild. You managed to hit 5 on turn 3 and get a Merchant Guild, which is fortunate for you. You played your mind, you got the Merchant Guild, and now we're staring at $3. So you're waffling between Caravan Guard and Silver, I think. Those are the two things you're talking about. You didn't consider a second raise. I think second raise is definitely better than Caravan Guard here. And I actually would have gotten the raise. However, if you look at the next 2 turns, the silver definitely worked out better for you here. So, props to you for getting the silver. After seeing how it played out, I actually like the silver. So, like, after a few plays, I'm thinking you're doing mostly things I agree with here. So, let's fast forward a few more turns. You've gotten your Merchant Guild number 1. You've gotten a couple more raises, which is pretty good. And here you are with 2 coffers after getting a double raise turn earlier. And you got 2 cities, I think, to your opponent's 1. So you have 2 cities in the deck. So here we are with a hand of raise and $5. And a thing that you don't notice is you talk about your commentary here is related to I don't want to raise this copper because I want to hit 5. And yeah, that's super important, but like you have a coffers, so raise the copper and spend a coffers and hit 5 anyway. Like that's definitely better than what you've done here.
When you think about it, that's actually the purpose of the coffers. We talked a little bit about this in our coffers episode about how the really awesome thing about coffers is smoothing over your buys in a way that like lets you do things that aren't this.
Yeah, and so, like, also, I think you only have 3 raises, and, like, really...
I have 1 fewer now.
Yeah, you had to blow up a raise to get this. So, I think better than playing this raise and blowing it up would have been to have not played the raise at all, right? So, if you didn't have any coffers here, I think you don't play the raise.
Okay, that's interesting.
And, like, that's...
You're probably right. I wouldn't have considered that.
It's consistent with the idea of... Like, I have these raises in my deck because I want to thin these coffers. Maybe this isn't the hand to do it, but raise is still a good card for my deck because it helps me do that. And I don't need the card because I can just buy my fiber. So, so yeah, that was this one. And so let's go forward just a little bit. Okay. So you ended up getting a city anyway. You had to blow up your raise. And so here, we're about to play this turn, and you're about to click on raise. And... you definitely want to play the cities first here. Why do you want to play the cities first? Because you want to draw cards and have that information before you decide what you want with your raise. And it actually bites you. You get punished for this really hard here. Because now, I mean, setting aside the idea that, if you would have played the cities first, you would have drawn both of these. But let's say you had played the cities and drawn the other 2 cards here. Now you know what those 2 cards are. And you know which one of these cards is better for your turn. Which is the mine.
Okay.
The Merchant Guild, the buy from that, is not really doing anything for you. You're getting a coffers for it. But you can mine a copper into a silver, then that money is going to come in later for you. So now you play the cities, and like in that situation, mine is definitely a better card for you. Right?
Okay.
Than the Merchant Guild is.
So I could maximize the amount of information before I had to make a choice. And that's a general rule that you want to be following.
Yes.
And yeah, I can see where I failed to do that, definitely.
Yeah. So here, you do end up spending the buy. You spend your 2 coffers, and you get an extra raise with your other buy. I don't think this is worth it. You get an extra coffers back, so you're effectively spending a coffers to get a raise. Maybe this would be a little better if you had more raises in your deck. You didn't trash one before, but it's very close to the decision of like, I want to trash the coppers, and that's worth tokens to do. Anyway, this is a minor thing, but I don't think the raise was worth getting here. I mean, it definitely is not as good as playing the mine here, but given that you have the Merchant Guild, I still think I would have just kept the coffers and had 3 coffers, so that like, if I hit 2 raises and 2 coppers, and like I still have silver and 3 coffers, and maybe I can get like, the coffers are pretty good for that. Also, I think it's really important that the whole raise city thing, like, this is the kind of mistake that you want to be catching during the game. So like, when you have decisions, these little micro decisions, whenever there's a choice like that, you should try and think of why it could matter. And like, you're gonna find cases where you can play better when you have a choice to make, and like, just try and think of why it could matter, as opposed to just making the choice and assuming that it doesn't matter. It's just general thing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even like watching this back. I don't know that I would have caught that. So I'm glad that we're doing this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, here we are. We're off in the future, and at some point we decided, all right, the cities are important. So the cities are, I mean, they're important, and we definitely want to get the last one here. At the moment, you have 5. The opponent has 4. You can buy a city number 6. You want to empty the pile, and by the way, that's definitely the right move, and your reasoning in the video for this is solid. So, A+ on that. Emptying cities great for you here. However, here's what we do. We have 5 in hand, and we have a raise. And what do you think you do here?
I think I probably end up raising the silver, if I remember.
Yes, you raise the silver.
Yeah.
And you're going to draw 1 card here. Raising the copper is amazing. You have coffers. So, like,
yeah,
you almost did it, and then you press the undo button. And then you end up drawing a silver. And so, when you're thinking about this, you made the choice between raise and silver. I think it's fine to trash the silver over the raise if you're going to trash one of them. But, like, what card can you draw that makes this turn better?
the mine. I mean, it doesn't make it better by much.
Okay. The mine's a good answer, I suppose. Is it that? But like,
so like, okay, when I did this, when I trashed the silver, part of it was mindless, thinking like, okay, I should play a card and trash. Copper's not a good raise target. Let's trash the silver instead to get value.
copper is the best raised target in your deck.
Right now, yeah. So like, that was part of the reason I did it. The other thing, and how I rationalized it after the fact, was like, I cycled past a silver, so I can play my cities and merchant guilds, and that's a better payload than the silver. And I'm not sure that's true. And I'm not even sure I accomplished that, actually, when you look at how the next shuffle played out.
Sure. I mean, at this point, you're going to have a thin enough deck, and you're going to have 6 cities that draw. I mean, you're going to draw a whole bunch of stuff anyway. What you want to do is get the coppers out so you can put merchant guilds in and draw them and play them, right? That's sort of the direction we're going.
Okay.
That's why the cities were good.
Thinning a copper is better than cycling past a silver. I'll get with you on that.
That's true. But let's say you draw the mine here. You've trashed a silver.
Mm-hmm.
You draw your mine. You play the mine, you trash a copper, you gain the silver back. So we're still at the same point we were at when we raised a copper, only I think we ended up having to spend an additional coffers or two.
That's true. Okay.
Silver's no longer... So, like...
Yeah.
So this is actually still worse.
The best value I could have gotten there was, I guess, trashing the copper and then spending coffers.
And if you didn't have any coffers, don't play the raise.
Yeah, and I just want to point out again, like, when we talked about coffers in our episode on Butcher and Coffers, like, these are some of the cases we came back to, is to, like, this is what coffers is really good for, is so that you don't have to do things like what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then there's one other thing. So, like, if we're talking about what cards can make your turn better, I think the only card that can make your turn better than a silver at this point is the activated city. So, like, next turn, I think it's going to change. You're going to want to have those silvers around, and you're gonna be thinking about, do I trash the raise or I trash the silver, so I can draw that city and then continue my turn the way it is. So, like, that's going to be better, and that starts next turn. But we're not there yet, so with that in mind, keeping the silver around has some value. Okay, so we empty the city, and we start to do some good things, and...
At this point, I'm nervous about piles. I just want to throw that out there. This is the point where a little red light's going on in my head, and I'm thinking, like, okay, I'm ahead, I want to say, but I need to be careful of a 3 pile because cities are out, there's 1 raise left, and once a second pile gets depleted, the city gains plus buy. So it means that, like, you could very easily lose to a 3 pile if you're not ready for it.
For sure. I think the best way to prepare yourself for that kind of a situation is to increase the capabilities of your deck.
Okay.
I mean, right now you can get, like, 1 province, right? And I think the whole point of why we wanted to build this was merchant guilds. So, like, you know, you want to put more merchant guilds in the deck. Starting from this point in your turn, you've played some cities, you got a couple left, maybe a couple more things you can draw. At this point, draw is not really a huge issue for you. We're pretty much overdrawing at this point. Like, you got 4 raises here, and then 2 of these 6 cards are cities. It's like you already have overdraw in your hand. Payload is the most important thing for you here. So, we'll resume at this point in the turn, playing the mine here now, and then raising a silver. That's a little sloppy. There's no reason to play the mine, but it doesn't really hurt you. I think raising the mine actually was a pretty good call there. The mine is going to be less useful for you, and if you want to save this turn without blowing up a raise, hey, the mine's in hand now. That's 1 less stop card, while the raises aren't stop cards. But that's not a huge deal. The fact is, it looks like city was card number 3, but whatever, you blow up another raise, I don't think it's a big deal. The mine would have gotten you there anyway. But anyway, we continue drawing. We have some overdraw.
Yeah. I didn't think about trashing the mine, but you're right. The mine's value had been to turn the coppers into silvers, get me extra dollars, and get my deck under control. Now that I've accomplished the objective of having my deck under control, and a single dollar is much less payload than cities and merchants guilds, it makes a lot of sense to trash the mine, even though it was so good throughout the game.
Right. The hashtag the tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go.
Yeah. You've served your purpose.
Yeah. So at this point, actually, even before you had raised that silver initially, you should have known what was in your deck, which is right in front of you here. It's easy for us to do it now because we drew it first.
Yeah.
But let's say we had played the mine and sacrificed $1 potential payload rather than 2. So in this case, we know what's in our deck. We know how much we can make on a turn. It's $10. That's super great. We want that. We also have 2 coffers tokens. This before you change what your payload is, this is when you need to stop clicking on things and calculate what's this turn going to be. I'm going to draw my deck next turn. What's that turn going to be? And I want to expand as fast as possible. And the way you play it here, it actually ends up punishing you a little bit. Having the silver around would have been really good. Next turn, you're going to hit, I think, 12 with 2 coffers, which is not 15. And like everything you want to buy costs 5. So that's kind of a big deal here.
Okay. So yes, I do have 6 cities. That's right.
Your opponent bought a rogue, and we're gonna get distracted by that. Oh yeah, you can thin the coppers and spend your coffers and hit 10, which is definitely the right call here.
And
but that's
the
assuming
thing is,
if
like,
you're going to do
actually,
this,
rogue by that
you better
time
make
is
sure
like-
that you can hit 15 next turn. Otherwise, you want to keep at least one of those coppers around. Right.
Okay.
Might be a pretty good card from my
I
deck.
kind of jumped around a little bit, but we see there's a couple of silvers in the trash, and we're afraid of our opponent's rogue, and so we get
What I want to be playing
distracted
are
by
merchant
that.
skills, and the silvers will get in the way of that, but not by that much. I'm overdrawing a little bit here, and I have the raises to raise them if it really becomes a problem. So let's go ahead and grab a rogue and a merchant guild.
So like your reasoning here is, you know, you have these silvers in the trash getting in the way of the rogue attack. Getting the rogue now, if you ever play the rogue, you're gonna have less silvers in the trash to get in the way of the attack.
Yeah.
So it's actually gonna make the attack come in faster.
That's true. Okay, the whole reason I bought the rogue was, like, worst case scenario is he plays a rogue and trashes one of my cities. And I figured I better have a rogue so I can get the city back, but if I just leave the silvers in the trash, then I have that buffer and the attack doesn't even happen.
That's true. So that's one option for you. Also, you don't need to get the rogue right now for that purpose. You can actually wait on the rogue, because you can wait until he can actually play the rogue and attack you with it. Also, on
Okay.
top of that, you have a bunch of silvers in your deck, and he's going to have additional silvers in his deck when he lost the city split, so it's going to be harder for him to continue drawing all those silvers and then be able to attack you. So if you get to the point where he can maybe play a rogue for the attack on you the following turn, maybe get the rogue then. But that's not a reason to get it now. I think Outpost is the best card for your deck. So like Outpost Merchant Guild is what I would have gone for there. That wouldn't have helped me hit 15 on the next regular turn, but you play the Outpost and you get far more value out of that, and you can probably hit 15 on your Outpost turn if you draw enough. Also, like, by that point, if the rogue hits your silvers, it's probably better anyway, because you want to get to this point where, like, I'm building up my payload, and having 4 merchant guilds is going to be way better than a rogue that gains a silver from the trash that you can draw and play. So, that. And I already addressed all of the other things. So then there's finally this
might
thing.
do it. Oh man, did I just get outplayed?
So you ask, did I just get outplayed? What your opponent did was played an outpost, and then got the last raise, and then on the outpost turn had those sexy cities. And you said, did I get outplayed here? Now that's a cute little trick. This was not good for your opponent. You did not get outplayed.
Okay. So my thinking was he was about to 3-pile and I was going to lose.
Right, but he can't do that. He has 4 cities, and what's the third pile?
He doesn't have enough buys to
One
do it.
merchant guild.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so he's got 5 extra buys, so a total of 6 buys on the outpost turn. And, he got a province, but let's say maybe he got, like, an additional buy. Like, that's still not enough to empty a third pile and have some points. So, he could get merchant guilds, but there's no way he can afford that. So, like, you didn't get outplayed here. And,
Good.
and the fact that you have 6 cities that
Yeah.
now have a buy means you can just empty the estates. You have 6
Yeah.
cities and a merchant guild. You can just empty the estates.
It's interesting you bring that up because
Yeah, that's the next note I have on my outline, huh?
I didn't think about emptying estates at all throughout this game. I'm not sure why I didn't, because it seems like the logical next step.
Yeah, so that's just something that should happen when City is a card. If
Yeah.
you ever get those really amazing cities, like, you just need to be constant, or if they're ever even close to happening, you just have to have your mind on a state pile out 100% of the time.
Okay.
Like, that's just something that needs to be at the forefront of your brain.
Well, because 2 piles are empty already if the cities are there. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like 8 points for your opponent. And if they have 6 cities like you do, you threaten that. It only takes 1 merchant guild and you have 2. And you're definitely going to have the economy for that. Because, like, you get half the money for that just from playing the cities. So, you were doing good. Doing great. You didn't get outplayed. Your opponent, actually, I think, made a big mistake by allowing this situation to happen. They needed to win the game on the outpost turn for this to be good. There was no way that was going to happen. They needed to be getting merchant guilds instead of rogues to get those buys.
Okay.
So, there's that, and then there's the last thing. I do need to bring
Well.
this up.
We get to a point where I do something I'm not super proud of.
Yeah, so the opponent gets a province there, and here we are with 9 buys and $24. A province and 8 estates.
Well,
Is going to win the game here, and we have plenty for that. And we missed that, and then we needed to have some coffee, and we eventually struggle across the finish line.
yeah, so there's okay. I do some things in the next couple of turns I'm not very proud of. So obviously Adam pointed out that I missed a win here. I could have piled estates and I think bought a province.
Yeah.
And that would have been enough points to win. I didn't do that. Instead, what's going through my head right now, I can't even make this up. This is actually the line of thinking that's in my head right now is like, okay, 2 piles are empty. What's the and I'm ahead. What's the third pile? I have seen candlestick makers empty before. I bet candlestick makers are the next pile. Why on earth I settle? I think it's because it's in an L shape. And then I was like looking at like the piles and I was like, oh man, candlestick makers right there.
There
like
you
there
go.
are arrows pointing at
Yeah.
it.
It's such a unique card.
I have no idea why my head went to candlestick maker instead of like estate
It's got plus buy.
Yeah, no, that's I don't know, but I have 9 buys, $24, and I can't remember. I think I just get provinces here, right?
You get 2 provinces, and I think you actually get a duchy.
Oh, and I have the outpost turn, so my plan is now to like get a points lead and then pile out on my outpost turn.
I mean, that's a good plan. Assuming that you can't win here, I mean, that's definitely your plan. However, you need to... I mean, outpost turns are super sus, right?
Yeah.
If you don't find enough cities, you're not going to draw everything. And, like, look at all these stop cards. You've got outpost, 2 merchies, 2 rogues, mine, 4 silvers.
Yeah, the rogues...
That's a lot of stop cards.
Yeah, and we addressed the rogues were just unnecessary.
Right, I mean, all of the rogues and, like, I think 2 or 3 of your silvers could have been, like, 3 merchant guilds.
Yeah.
And you'd have more buys, woo! But, I mean, you'd have a buttload of tokens, and then, like, loading up on candlestick makers then is actually fine, because you're going to have a billion coin tokens.
Still bad, because candlestick maker was not the card that should have been piling.
Sure, but, like, maybe getting
Yeah.
1 or 2 for those extra buys once you have, like, 10,000 coin tokens at the end of this is not the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But, like, you need to have a plan for what's going to happen if your outpost turn is a dud. So, like, maybe 1 province and then enough provinces to make sure that your opponent can't easily win on their turn. Or maybe you just say, I'm all in, I'm going to win this on my outpost turn, or I'm going to lose the game. What you've done here is taking the main problem, the main way you can lose the game, and you're going to just, like, throw gasoline on the fire and add, like, a billion more stop cards to the deck.
Well, okay, so I get a province. I'm like, okay, now I have a point lead. Now I can just 3-pile the candlestick makers, which again I had in my head was the way I was going to win.
And I'm going to need coin tokens to do that.
Yeah, okay. And so, like, I'm getting these coppers to get the coin tokens because I'm like, next turn there's an outpost turn. I need to have enough coffers to empty the candlestick makers. That's the only way I can do it, is if I have 20 coin tokens, so I can... Why did I do that? Why did I spend all the coin tokens? I had 2 buys.
Okay, so my end game is,
Why did I do that?
let's be honest.
I think the fact that you managed to win the game from here is a testament to how well you played previously. I'm not even kidding. Like, you were far enough ahead that your opponent couldn't win from here after doing a lot of this other stuff.
That was like, yeah.
But
But how many coin tokens did I spend? Can we rewind back to that real quick to get to the number?
You could have had 8 left. I know that much.
Oh god, I spent 19 coin tokens. Why? Okay,
So
sweet.
you needed to spend. Yeah, you could have had 8 left over. Yeah, you only needed to spend 11, and you spent 19.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Or
So having 8 coin tokens is a great plan for no matter what happens, I'm going to win the
okay,
game next
so
turn because you
my
can't
end game
overtake me
has
at
been
points.
sloppy as all
Which
get.
is actually like the best play at that point.
Yeah.
I was
So
fine.
other than spending the 8 coin tokens, which didn't matter
Luckily-
because you did
yeah.
manage to hit 8 before
Luckily,
your opponent
yeah,
resigned.
and like I could have been punished by, like we don't know, like that I could have been punished by the stop cards I had put in my deck and dudded, and maybe he wins next turn. But
There's
like,
a copper
If
right
I
here.
do lose
It's
it,
a pretty good card. Aren't you glad you have that?
because
I needed 20 coin tokens, Adam. I had to pile the candlestick
You
makers.
needed 20 coin tokens so you could spend a whole bunch of them on the outposter.
Yeah, and pile the candlestick makers, which
Yeah.
again has a candlestick maker has not been bought by the end of the game. Why did I think that those were gonna pile?
You know, I mean, no one's perfect.
I hadn't had my coffee.
Yeah.
This was first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
It was like 11.
like, I had such
And,
a
It was 11. I'm like halfway done with my workday by that point. You know that?
Yeah, so
Wow, I actually
I'm
am.
almost rooting for him at
I get
this
to work
point.
at 6:30 and I work 9-hour days. So yeah, I'm
Nice.
actually halfway done with my work
so
day.
badly that I opened it up
Yeah.
for him, so...
you know, as Adam mentioned, I do win the game by the opponent resigning. I think if you look at my
could've hit eight
hand, I
here.
would have.
There's
yeah.
enough to hit 8 exactly.
So, yeah, like
Oh,
this
there's
was
more
an
than
interesting
enough.
game, and part of it, like I knew I hadn't played optimally, mostly post those last couple of turns, but there were some things I didn't catch here that I'm glad that we went through the coaching session that Adam pointed out for me. So thank you, Adam.
Yeah, you didn't expect me to give you all this value here, huh?
Yeah, no, definitely. And so this was, I think, really good for me. I'm definitely gonna think about my plays a little differently. And if you want to get involved in the coaching series, we do videos like this where sometimes I'll review the gameplay footage. Sometimes Adam will do it. Sometimes we'll both do it together.
Sometimes
And-
we'll give it to Lexi. She'll do it.
Yeah, Lexi will do it.
Yeah.
If you win the raffle.
If you win the raffle. Yeah.
But yeah, so we have a few of those up on YouTube now if you want to check those out. It's a pretty cool format, and I think it's really good for both having it done for your own play and also watching it. I really like these videos for other people too, just because, like, you know, anybody could be making these maybe not the coin token one, but anybody could be making most of these mistakes. And so
But the fact that, like,
it's good to be seeing this.
the fact that you watch this and, like, you know, Jake's not the only one that can learn from this. That's why we published this
Yeah.
video. That's why I didn't just, like, copy paste the outline to him in a Facebook message and just be done
Right.
with it, right?
So, we hope you enjoyed it too. Let us know in the comments, and let us know if you would like to submit some coaching footage to us.
Yep. Smell you later.